Today, Nigeria is 60, and on the 1st of October 1960, the future of Nigeria was bright. But 60 years after, there is a gap between expectation and reality. The country's snail-like movement to progress, despite its rich human capital and abundant natural resources, is baffling. That's an opinion. Another opinion, it's a time for popping champagne because she is forging and moving despite her numerous challenges. Some feel otherwise and have argued that it is not too good to give the impression that the country has achieved nothing. At 60, the future looks uncertain for Nigeria, a country which held so many promises of greatness at independence. The message in the independence logo is 60 years together. Welcome, this is a special discussion on a historic day, Nigeria at 60. This broadcast is live on Flow 94.9 FM, and of course it is on our various social media platforms, on Twitter, on Facebook, and of course you can join us online on www.flow949fm. My name is Michael Oni.
And my name is Ginika Olwa. Welcome, Michael. Like you rightly said, 60 years ago it started, and people that were around at the time, expected so much from the newborn baby Nigeria. But today, I don't know if the story is still the same because so many things seem to have gone awry. But be that as it may, we celebrate Nigeria at 60 and we hope for a better future in this country.
We have some big questions, so we will be providing answers to this afternoon already. What is Nigeria celebrating at 60? How have we fared? Have we disappointed our forefathers? Are we more purposeful as we were at independence? Are our youths happy? Are the elders smiling? What is the state of our infrastructure? Are we proud of our democracy? Is the world leaving us behind? How long will our teething problems last? When will our security challenges abate? When are we going to fully recover from the terrible effects of COVID-19 that has dealt our world a lethal blow? These are some of the questions we will be providing answers to in this discussion. Very historic discussion we will be having this afternoon. The history of Nigeria has been crucially impacted by transatlantic slave trade, which started in Nigeria in the late 15th century. At first, Europeans captured people who lived along the coast. The first slave trading post used by the British and the Portuguese is Badagry. That's a coastal harbor. But the chains where they tied up young and virile young people still stands today, and later they used local brokers to provide them with slaves. These activities escalated conflict among the different ethnic groups in the region and disrupted older trade patterns through the trans-Saharan routes. But as time goes on the program, we'll let you into what happened and later gave birth to Nigeria on the 1st of October 1960. And of course, it's going to be sectoral review of the country at 60. We will be looking at governance, we will be looking at agriculture.
Yeah, we'll also be looking at the economy and as well as education. Those are very specific areas and very important too for Nigeria economy to grow. And we will have right now on the line the senator that actually represented Abia North Senatorial Zone and the 8th National Assembly, Senator Mao Ohuabonwa. Distinguished, good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon and happy independence.
Happy independence to you too.
Thank you.
So, you will be taking us through this discussion as you will have the honors of running us through governance in Nigeria. Let's do a review of what we've had right from 1960 down to this moment. Ginika.
Okay, distinguished, we would like to start first of all with that concerns you and as well as every other Nigeria. That is the issue of restructuring, which has been in the front burner for some time now. Everybody seems to be calling for the country to be restructured. What will be your take 60 years down the line? I think we started something like that when the British actually handed over to us. But today, I think we've derailed and people are actually calling for the country to be restructured. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, first and foremost, I want to join all Nigerians to thank God for seeing us through this tortuous journey from October 1961st October to today, 1st October 2020, which is 16 years down the line. So it's a theme of joy, and to thank God that we are part of this Golden Jubilee celebration, because a lot of people started this journey, but today they are not here to even see what is happening, either to comment or to be part of it. So for those of us who are privileged by the special grace of God to be alive, I think we give God the glory. But having said that, and as a participant, especially as a politician, I want to say yes, journey from 1960 to today. Don't forget that Nigeria was founded by our founding fathers, and that gave us this independence from our colonial masters, that is the British, through a motion moved by late elder statesman Enahoro, and through the Macpherson's constitution that gave us the regional governance of this country. Unfortunately, down the line, through the military intervention, we lost that constitution. We lost the position as stated by our founding fathers, which is the regional system governance. What I mean, yes, it's prime minister system, but what I'm saying, the regional system, where we had 3 regions with Lagos as a territory, capital territory in 1960, but I think 1964 or so, we had the 4th region, which was the Western region.
Yeah.
Was there to coordinate some of the activities of governance. There is as a federated unit. No, Nigeria is a federation.
Yes.
The federation or the federated units, as represented by the regions, are semi-autonomous and independent, and they make contributions to the central government. But system of governance, because their system is centralization of power, authority, where power and authority and direction come straight from the top. Okay. And that was what led us to where we are today. So because of the military, there was centralization of power. Everything, you have to bring everything to the center. You have to come to the center for federation account, allocation, and all that. And that led us to missing track. That today, the area of development, there was competition before between regions, but today you see everybody coming to the center with cap in hand to collect. So we are like the country had lost it from that point. So for me, yes, we started well, but at a point, because of military intervention, we derailed, and up to this.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. All right, distinguished. Let us quickly look at the issue of.
No. Remember, you were talking about the issue. I was giving a background and a preamble to restructuring.
Okay.
Yes.
Because of that derailment, today you can see the glamour, the agitation for restructuring. To go back to where we started and trace our story and our history. So what I'm saying is that restructuring, as far as I'm concerned, is the only way to go. You can see today Nigeria with a lot of enormous resources endowed by God. Still, we are not economically independent. We are not politically independent. So we need to go back to the drawing board so that we can become truly an independent nation. A dependent country, an independent country that cannot feed itself, I mean, it's not. But looking at Nigeria, we're well endowed, but we are not harnessing the potentials endowed by God to Nigeria. So the only way to go is to restructure this country, whether you call it devolution of power or restructuring, whatever. But what we are saying is that the tripod should be the triangle should be from the what do you call it, the tip to up, not from up down. It should be down up and not up down.
Okay, distinguished. Let's look at the theme of this event, today's celebration, togetherness. And if we look at the present situation in the country. We have cracks. That has been confirmed by the vice president. That was on Sunday. We have cracks. We have groups coming up in the region, different regions of the country. For example, in the southeastern part of the country, we have IPOB. Some persons are clamoring for Oduduwa Republic. Some persons are clamoring for other republics in other parts of the country. Where did we get it wrong, and how can we find a solution if we are really celebrating togetherness?
Yes, if you are talking about togetherness without justice cannot work. Togetherness with injustice is not real. It's not a reality. So what we are saying, if we talk about togetherness, if we want to live together, we will trace our history, like I've earlier said. Look at the areas which are we really working in unity. How can you be talking about togetherness and unity when a particular region, a particular region is denied participation in the affairs of Nigeria? How can you talk of togetherness when there is nepotism, where appointments come from one region, one section of the country? How can you talk about togetherness when there is a particular country and a particular region is lording over the other, and you say we are together? It's not possible. So, or if we want to work as a country, if we want to remain together as a country, you have to, like I've said, you have to review our structure. You have to review our existence. You have to review injustice, like I said, where regions are being denied what is their due right in appointment. Look at this the security architecture of this country. Look at this appointment. Let me take, yes, I'm from Southeast, so you start from the known to unknown. Tell me who is represented in the Southeast in the security position of this country. So how can you say we are happy and you say we are together? No, we have to review everything, and the only way, like I've said, is to restructure. So when you talk about nepotism, tribalism, ethnicity, religious, you put them into consideration in your appointment and deny a different group, then you are not talking of togetherness, neither are you talking of unity. So I still stand on the fact that, yes, thank God we are celebrating our golden jubilee. Thank God that 60 years, a man of 60 years by Nigerian policy and law, it should be retiring from service. So you should be a little bit independent. But today, I think after 60 years, we are still crawling. We are still struggling to survive. So I think this is a time for us to reminiscence. This is a time for us to introspect, look inwards, and see what those things that have put us apart, and look at them, correct them, so that we can now begin to talk about togetherness. We can begin to talk about unity. But once these things are not addressed, unity or togetherness will be an illusion.
Okay, distinguished. Let's look at
an illusion. Yes.
Okay, distinguished. You've been a lawmaker, and I know that there has been a series of constitutional review in this country in the past, even when you were there as a senator. Now, many Nigerians believe that credible elections are actually lacking in our political system. And you've been having these constitutional reviews here and there. And even at that, it appears that you overlooked this issue of Electoral Act, as it were. What do you think should be done in this regard to make sure that each time Nigerians queue up to vote, their votes always count?
See, there are two. Luckily, by the grace of God, I'm privileged to be there from the beginning, from the Fourth Republic, as the leader of the National House of Representatives. And we did a very good job in the Constitutional Amendment of 2006. I think we should go back and look at that. That is number one. Then number two, I'm also privileged to be part of the 8th Assembly. And the 8th Assembly did a very great, wonderful job in the Electoral Amendment of Electoral Act of 2020 as amended, and 2010 as amended, where we've covered every aspect. But unfortunately, the present government, the president, could not assent to that bill, because if they had assented to that bill, I want to tell you that by today, even if we wouldn't be getting there, but at least we would have taken off. We would have taken off than waiting to get to the cruising height. But because of endorsement or signing of that electoral act of 2018.
2018.
Yeah, well, 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
2018, 2019. That has taken us 20 years back. And I want to call on the present National Assembly. Luckily, most of them, or about 50% of them, were with us in the 8th Assembly. They should take a closer look of that on that bill, and if possible, represent it. Because trying to constitute another Constitution Review Committee will not be of any help. It will not help us. All I'm saying is that we should take a look or review that 2006 Constitution Amendment and 2018-2019 Electoral Act. If we can bring in electronic voting into our system, I think that will help us to a large extent, so that when we are talking about free, credible, and transparent election, then we can beat our chest and say, yes, as of a truth, we've done a job that will lead us to that. But if we still leave that electoral act of 2010 as amended, it will not lead us to nowhere.
All right, thank you very much. The former Senator representing Abia North Senatorial District in Abia State, Senator Mao Okwabuwa, thank you very much for your analysis as we're taking sectoral review of the country at 60, especially as you touched governance. Happy Independence to you once again.
It's my pleasure talking to you, and I want to use the opportunity to congratulate Nigerians and Abians as we celebrate our golden jubilee as a nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a special discussion on Flow 94.9 FM. It's a historic day, of course. Diamond Jubilee 60. That's how old Nigeria is right now. And well, you can join the conversation. We're live streaming on our Facebook page. I'm talking about visuals now on www.facebook.com/Flow949FM. Of course, I told you earlier on that it's a sectoral review of the country. We've touched governance. We still have economy. We still have education. We still have agriculture to look at, of course, this afternoon on this wonderful day celebration. Lagos State was invaded. It wasn't a state then. Lagos was invaded by British forces in 1851 and formally annexed in 1865. Nigeria became a British protectorate. That was in 1901, while her colonization lasted until 1960, when an independence movement succeeded in gaining her independence. And Nigeria first became a republic in 1963, but succumbed to military rule 3 years later after a coup d'etat. A separatist movement later was formed. That's the Republic of Biafra in 1967, that led to 3-year Nigerian civil war. Nigeria became a republic once again after a new constitution was written in 1979. However, the republic was short-lived when the military seized power again for another 4 years. A new republic was planned to be established in 1993 but was aborted by General Sani Abacha. Abacha died in 1998, and a fourth republic was later re-established the following year, which ended 3 decades of intermittent military rule. And now we're in the fourth republic. Our problems are numerous, and to wit, failure of governance, malfunctioning state system, and the rentier substructure that has fed the greed of the state elite. Of course, we're looking at those problems, of course, taking out a sectoral review of the country at 60. Ginika.
Yes, of course, we should be looking at the economy as it stands today. And right here in the studio is an erstwhile chief economic advisor to Abia State government, Chief Agojuku. He will be looking at, will help us to x-ray the economic activities and the situation as it were today in Nigeria. Chief, good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, Chief, let's start. You know that just a few days ago, the federal government thought it wise to say, okay, we are now looking at, we are not going to, subsidize the pump price, of petrol. Hence, they decided to hands off everything that has to do with subsidy in the pump price of the petrol. Now, what many people have been crying, Labour said they were going on strike and all that. In the past, when you look at 60 years ago and what we have today, oil seems to be the major thing for economic benefits and fortunes of Nigeria. Do you think that is sustainable in the present situation in Nigeria?
I think at 60 we shouldn't even be discussing some of these component parts of the economy. We should be looking at the economy as a system holistically, because the problem we have had in this country is that most of the managers of the Nigerian economy have been accountants and people who read simple economics. We have not had strategic management consultants, especially people who practice strategic management consulting at consulting level. We have not had them run the country or guide people in the presidency. So that's why we're having most of these problems. And when you look at what people who read simple economics do, unfortunately, because of the similarity of words, economy and economics, people always think that somebody who read economics can immediately fix an economy. It's not true. Economists do firefighting work in an economy. The only people who have the capacity to fix an economy are people who have knowledge of strategic management consulting. Because no matter what you read, if you have not studied problem solving to a consulting level, you can never fix any issue. Rather, you can succeed in whitewashing certain problems, knocking some parts up and down, but not arriving at what will fix the fundamentals of your economy and allow you to grow. In the past, we have had, incidentally, I've been one of the frontline people in discussing the economy in the country. And I've always maintained that since the Civil War ended, no government in Nigeria has ever tackled the economy as a system. And as long as we keep tackling the component parts of the economy and not the system, because it is the system, it is the relationship of the elements in the system that throws up the evil you see in the system. It's not just here. So when I be tackling the exchange rate, tackling the electricity, tackling this one, without finding how they relate with each other, without taking cognizance of who the stakeholders in the system are, you'll be making a mistake and you never get there. That is why what we are doing in this country will always come to naught, because we have not fixed the thing that will bring the results. So until we do that, so at Nigeria at 60, my happiness right now is that previously when we speak, people will say, like when I was in government, I was chief economic advisor. Some people who try to ridicule me, anytime I speak, they gang up because I wasn't in politics then. So when they go to their meetings, what people usually do is they try to knock other people out so that they can remain the way they are. But unfortunately, when you knock out knowledge, you will be the one who will be the loser. Because without knowledge, you can't get anything done, whether you like it or not. So that time, when I say things, they say that he speaks, he says abstract things and so on. Then they'll laugh and so on. Why do they say that I say abstract things? Because I say things that are beyond the understanding of the people who were around as at that time. So, and anything people don't understand, they dismiss. They say it's abstract. Now I'll tell you something. I accept here right now that I say abstract things. So I want everybody to know that. But just know that this phone and this microphone I'm using to talk to you now, before it was invented, it was abstract. Somebody had to go into the thinking of God to find out how this microphone can exist, conceptualized it, brought it into reality, and now it's no longer abstract. So when you hear that somebody says abstract things, follow him. That is where the knowledge is. Everything in this world is conceptualized, is made twice. First as a thought, and then secondly as a finished product. But if you cannot first think about it, you can't get it done.
So you're saying that we've not fixed the problem from the roots?
Yes, we have not. And what we are doing in this country is not tackling the roots.
So what do we do?
Yes. First of all, several years back, I announced that I can fix the Nigerian economy in 3 months. And then some people sponsored some people to go and disparage me and write rubbish. But unfortunately, they don't know what an economy is. People have simple understanding of an economy. Some think economy is electricity, water and road. That is not an economy. That is infrastructure. It's not an economy. Every economy is in 2 parts. You have the active part and then the passive part. The active part is not seen. It's like when you see somebody driving a beautiful Mercedes-Benz car. That car cannot drive smoothly, nicely, and be fine or even be made without the design, without the drawing. So what is missing in Nigeria is that the system that should be our economy has not been designed. But we have activities. You can set up a company like this radio station. Somebody can set up a radio station, employ people, and just start. There's no system. But you see activity going on. But the moment they pause and create a system and processes to drive what they are doing, you will now see a situation which is what should happen in a good economy. In a good economy, people get more than they put in, because what we call synergy now starts playing out, which means that any little effort you make, because the system has been designed to push you forward and advance what you have done, your little effort will give you greater results. But in Nigeria, no, it's not like that. Things are working at cross purposes in this country. Even simple things like agriculture. It is so sad that in 1999, I approached Obasanjo, who was president, and I told him what we can do to diversify the economy using the oil palm. Did you understand it? Yes, he set up a couple of programs, and we started doing what we call Saturday Forum with Mr. President. He got a plantation for himself, but he never allowed for the national policy to be designed so that the rest of the country can join in it. Several years after, down the line, it took every government that came, we approached the government, but it kept looking at electricity, water, and road, which is not economy. But surprisingly, when it came to this Buhari's government, that most people did not even give a chance. The man said anything that can be done in Nigeria must be done in Nigeria. So last year, October, he banned the importation of palm oil into Nigeria. Many Nigerians do not know that Nigeria imports palm oil worth $500 million every year into this economy. They don't know that. They just see the white palms growing in Nigeria and local people making oil. But they don't know that the quality those local people make is not suitable for the industrial use and so on. So when you are doing things and you have not created the foundation that will bring the results will never happen.
Okay, now, Chief, I agree with you that yes, if we must diversify the economy, we can go into agriculture. But must it be agriculture? We have other sectors that can actually diversify our economy.
I'll challenge you when you finish this program. Carry your camera, your cameraman. Take your microphone, go to town. Ask people what an economy is. Go to people who read economics and ask them what an economy is. You will see the confusion in the system. People don't know. When you don't know what something is, you can never fix it.
Okay, can
be performing activities on it.
Can you summarize?
Now you said something about diversification. Diversification simply means having more income streams. Income stream means that, like in Nigeria, we have petroleum as the main earner of foreign exchange for the Nigerian nation. So for the nation to diversify, because everybody should actually diversify, even a small company. Now, when you tell Nigeria to diversify, it means go and create other activities, take them to a commercial and industrial level where they can, because if you don't take certain things to industrial levels, you can't get the result expected from them. They can't serve you. If you are doing them at domestic kitchen level, they cannot serve you. You cannot be internationally competitive. So diversification is removing your economy from risk by creating more income streams. If you diversify, the reason I mentioned oil palm is because before the war, Eastern region was the fastest growing economy, second fastest growing economy in the whole world. Why? Because the oil palm businesses that were springing up that time were industrializing our place. Any corner you go to, if you go to a place like around this work, every corner had a palm oil factory. Today they are all gone. People have gone from industrial agriculture, industrial palm oil production, to doing it in the mortar.
What happens to mining?
Mining, remember what I said? I said when you increase your income streams, you diversify your economy. If you build up your mining, you have diversified. You have added something to the diversification. You do your industry, you do your agriculture, you do this, you do so many things. And don't forget that the biggest industry in the world that is actually creating growth all over the world is not even agriculture, it's knowledge. Because without knowledge, you can't invent anything. So look at what ICT is doing in the world, creating more money than petroleum businesses. Look at the richest man in the world, Bill Gates. Does he sell petroleum products? No, he doesn't. Does he sell any hard commodity and so on? No, he doesn't. He only sells software, something that if you don't put in your system, you can create a great impact with your computer. That is what is important. The world is now in the knowledge age. But unfortunately, Nigerians don't even know what knowledge age means.
Okay, just a moment, Chief. You've condemned those that are to be appointed as ministers in charge of economy, like the finance and the likes, that the right peg should be in the right hole. Now, we've had advisory councils appointed by governments in the country. Are you saying that the composition wasn't rightly selected?
Most times it's not the composition that is the problem. It is the knowledge that is put out. Because that somebody is a professor doesn't mean the person can solve a problem. You can go to school. Most times when people go to school, they gain the ability to perform routine operations, which means if you give them an appointment and show them the process for an activity, they can run the process. What is missing in this country is the ability to create the programs that will drive people. Let me use a car as an economy, for instance. What you see Nigerians do every time they beat the body of the Nigerian car, the Nigerian economy, they paint it, they write transformation, Nigeria on the move, but the vehicle is parked in one place. It can't go anywhere. So if that vehicle can't go anywhere, if a vehicle is parked in the mechanic and can't perform its function, it does not qualify to be called a functional vehicle. What is happening in Nigeria is that we have left the main job, which is to create our economy so that the system will drive the results we want. And we think that when we do infrastructure, it will not drive the people. It's not like that. Economy is about people. It's about people. And when you talk about stakeholders, it's about people. How many people know that economy has elements? They don't know. Okay. The most important element in an economy is even the household, because it is the household that makes the investments in businesses. It is the household that supplies the knowledge that companies buy. It is the households that supply even the man who goes to become president. Okay,
just before we move to another sector now, you've highlighted the problems at the moment. Now, the economic situation in the country is not suitable. Now that we are even removing subsidy on petrol, that people are benefiting directly and the likes, what can we do to sustain Nigeria economically? As it stands now, we have problem. As it stands now, what we're making from the petrol, from the crude oil, cannot even sustain the country. You heard from the president, you've heard from the president's aides severally. We cannot sustain the economy. Is there a way out of what we have on ground?
There's always a way out. Every problem has a solution.
So what is the solution?
And without a problem, you can't even do great things. What is most important is that in this country, we have a lot of praise singers. People keep acknowledging and praising things even when it's not working. And every president, I said this in 2013 when I announced on national television that the capacity to fix the Nigerian economy was not in Jonathan's government. I announced it is there. It's in the, if you go to the internet, you see it when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and Aganga were in government. I announced it because what they were doing was adjusting financial activities, whereas the economy itself was not touched. Economy is about businesses. You see the Akara woman. If you see a woman frying Akara by the side of the road today and tomorrow she's no longer there, there's something wrong with the economy. That is what you should look at. Find out why she has shut down. You see businesses open in different locations. After 4 days or some time, the person is gone. That is economy. It is not these other activities of adjusting money. Now, thank God that things have come to this point. Because when people have free money in an economy, they refuse to do deep thinking. Now that Nigeria has gotten to this point where if it doesn't bring in intelligence, it will collapse. Now everybody must rise up, including the president. The president must challenge everything that is told by his officers, because what they tell him is not what is happening. If you want to fix the economy very quickly, you don't need to turn it into a debate where everybody says something, because everybody has an opinion. Okay. What you do is, this is what the international standard. Anytime you have a problem, simply announce as a president, we have a problem, we want to fix our economy. Okay. If you think you have expertise in the fixing of an economy, send us your proposal. Tell us the timetable, the process you will use to fix the economy, and your timetable. Once you reduce it to that, people who only just make noise about it will give way. then those who have the knowledge, who are able to write the proposal, can now write it. You can now compare what they have brought in and then see the one that is most likely to lead to the promised land. And remember, the person must tell you stage by stage, not naming projects. So because in Nigeria, when you ask them how are we going to fix the economy, say, if you fix electricity, you fix water. No, those things come after you have done the software design.
All right.
Okay.
Chief.
That was the former, or rather, SY Chief Economic Advisor to Abia State Government, Chief Ago Ojukwu. He has spoken extensively.
And also an economic analyst.
Yes, he has spoken extensively on the issue of economy and how it can be sustained in Nigeria. Chief, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll move over to the next one. We should be on agriculture. And we have a whole lot of questions to ask. That's former Commissioner for Agriculture. He's well seated here.
All right. It is still a special discussion today, being a historic day in Nigeria, right here on Flow 94.9 FM. Nigeria at 60. And we just did an analysis of the economy. We had Chief Ago Ojukwu, of course, doing a very wonderful job there. You know, Nigeria is a celebratory culture, which explains why it is the second fastest growing champagne market after France. Yes, if you don't know, the total consumption as of that was 2011 when I got this data, reached about 750,000 bottles in 2011. The nation spent over 41 billion naira buying champagne. Well, no doubt many would want to roll out the drums to celebrate Nigeria's Diamond Jubilee. However, if we use healthcare and life expectancy as a yardstick, Nigeria has nothing to celebrate if you look at those parameters. But this time around, we are looking at another parameter: agriculture. Of course, we have someone to do the analysis for us this wonderful occasion of Nigeria at 60. Ginika.
Yes, we have a former commissioner here in Abia State and presently the program manager. Of course, he was one time a special advisor to the governor on agriculture and presently the program manager, Abia State Agricultural Development Program, Chief Israel Amenze. Chief, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. You've heard all that the former speaker actually said on this. There's Chief Ojukwu. He talked about diversification of the economy and all that. And everybody believes in Nigeria that if you must diversify, if you must leave fuel, if you must leave oil and all that, the next place to go to is agriculture. Do we have what it takes in agricultural sector to sustain the economy of Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Chief Ago Ojukwu actually says that this is a knowledge age.
Yeah.
I think we have everything in agriculture to sustain this economy. The only thing is that we have to be able to apply what we need to do. At the beginning of our economy as an independent nation, it was agriculture that sustained the various regions, and they did very, very well. The economies were growing at a very high speed, but right now, immediately we discovered oil, all of us forgot about agriculture and we focused on oil. And the implication of that was that so many people could make so much money without working for it. And people were just spending money and nobody was investing. And that is the greatest undoing of Nigeria. If that period when we made excess money in oil, we remember to use the excess monies we had to develop our economy, to develop our agriculture, to set up the legacies that will drive the economy. By today, Nigeria would have been a developed nation. Nigeria would have developed in agriculture, developed in every other area. Now, like Chief Ago Ojukwu said, we need to do something. Certainly we have to. If agriculture cannot sustain the economy, agriculture needs to be taken seriously for at least for food security. Because a country that cannot feed itself is at the mercy of the other countries. Now that Nigeria has been importing a lot of things, importing even the rice we were eating. If you follow it like that, no matter whatever we make in other sectors and we cannot feed ourselves, we also export that food and export the employment to other countries. So I think agriculture has everything that can develop this country.
What we have presently in the country, the things we are producing, can it sustain the country?
Yes. It can. See what happens. Many countries even grow by just one product. If you just know how to do it, if you know how to produce and maximize that one, you have advantage, competitive and comparative advantage over. If you use it to produce it and make sure you produce it cheaper and better than other countries will buy it from you, and you export to them and you make your own profit. So as it is, I think we have so many things that can we can sustain our economy with. Let me give still example with what Chief Ojukwu said in palm oil. You know that oil palm is costlier than crude oil per unit. If a country came here and picked it and their own economy is running on it, Malaysia came here, picked the oil palm seeds and went to their own country, and their own country is running on oil palm. So why can't we run on oil palm this side? If some time ago the groundnut ran the economy of the north, why can't groundnut run the economy of that side, or cocoa? These are all products which we produce here, because we do not process it, because we do not add any value to them. Other people take it, add value to it, and when they add value to it, they now bring it back to us and make a lot of profit, and they sustain their own economy. And our own economy, we're only living from hand to mouth. I just want us to look at agriculture in a simple way. If we want this agriculture to grow, the government must be serious, which somehow started during the Jonathan era. There was some seriousness that was introduced into agriculture during what they called the growth enhancement support scheme. Yeah. That was the time people now realized that there were farmers. They started supporting farmers, and right now the present government has their Anchor Borrowers program. The Anchor Borrowers program is actually supporting farmers, and with a support to farmers, you now see that more people will be drawn to agriculture, and they will produce.
Ginika, just permit me a follow-up on the Anchor Borrowers program, which state governments are meant to pay more like a counterpart funding to be able to subscribe to such funds from the government. We've had this fund severally for years now, but it looks like it is not producing any result in the country.
States are not supposed to pay counterpart fund, but somehow, if you are doing the state anchor, what state do is that they will deposit an irrevocable standing payment order, so that in case the farmer fails. But totally, it is the farmer's package. The farmer is given a loan, and that loan, which becomes an input loan, the farmer produces and sells back to somebody, and that person processes. So the Anchor Brewers program is actually working. And I must tell you, what we need is a situation of production in this country where you divide the farmers into two. These are outgrowers, these are off-takers.
Okay, now Chief, if you remember back then in the days, from history we understood that when Nigeria got independence, from then in the 60s and all that, most national monuments were built from the money made from agriculture.
Yes.
Because the farmers got a lot of incentives and input and all that. Today, even before the COVID-19, you know that there's been this issue of farmer header crisis, and which obviously is not really encouraging for our farmers. What do you think at this point, now that the economy is also in tatters, considering the fact that COVID didn't actually, do much positively in helping our farmers, produce enough? Now, what do you think should be done to address this issue of farmer header crisis? Because this person, the headers, they're also farmers, but livestock farmers, but the farmers are naturally the ones that plant on their farms and all that. At the end of the day, they have their crops destroyed. What do we do at this point?
I don't think the farmers, those who are killing farmers, are not farmers. Headers are supposed to be farmers.
Yes.
But I think some of these things look political. But I must tell you that the farmers headers conflict will put Nigeria into very big problems. So far as that thing is not tackled, there will be no productivity, because when farmers are afraid of going to the farm, you now discover that nobody is farming. Even the headers cannot even survive without the other crop farmers. So it is something that I tell you that a lot of our problems is leadership. We have a leadership crisis. If we have the right leaders, they should know what to do. Farmers headers crisis is not supposed to subsist. It's not supposed to continue. And I tell you, before now, before these killers are moving around Nigeria, there have been herders in Nigeria, and they live peacefully with crop producers, and they do not conflict like that. They know, everybody knows their own boundaries. But these people who are marauding everywhere now, they are out to kill farmers. They are out to displace people. They are out to take over communal lands. So that will never help agriculture. It will put us into further problems in this country unless that issue is addressed. Food security is at a very heavy risk. And you will discover that food prices will keep going on until they address that issue. If in Borno State, people cannot go to their farms. If in Plateau State, people who produce vegetables cannot produce. If in all these states, people are just displaced from their farms, who will farm? Eventually, there will be no farm, and there will be insecurity in the country.
Okay, Chief, let's still go back to the issue of, I remember when Jonathan was in power, the Minister for Agriculture actually introduced the e-wallet policy for fertilizers, where you distribute fertilizers to farmers and all that. Before then, farmers have been complaining that they don't get fertilizers, that those that get the fertilizers are political farmers, those politicians who have access to the corridors of power, and at the end of the day, the farmers who are supposed to have access to these inputs don't get them. What do you think the input for farmers, or encouragement from farmers, especially when it has to do with fertilizer, e-wallet policy, is it still very much
yes, the Japanese say good thinking, good products. I think the thinking of Dr. Akiwumi was very beautiful that time, and it actually brought some reasonable sanity into the supply chain of agricultural input. The e-wallet, that's what I mentioned as the Growth Enhancement Support Program, the GES program. It actually helped farmers get food. It was just 2 bags of fertilizer per farmer, but it automatically lowered the market price of fertilizer because it was now reaching direct to the farmers. It's reaching direct to the farmers. Any program that makes any input go straight to the farmers, it automatically improves supplies to the farmers and improves productivity. It worked well, and every other thing aimed at giving farmers input direct is a very good strategy.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 100, can you rate food production in Nigeria just before we let you go?
This is a very difficult thing to rate, but I must tell you that we are still in subsistence agriculture. The commercial agriculture is still at a lower rate, and which means we have to continue to push for it.
Okay.
Right now, it is very low, but
very low. So, do we have a food crisis?
If things go the way they are going, if
we
don't, we may be going for food crisis. But I must tell you, this government right now, what their policies recently is also very good for agriculture. It's encouraging farmers to return to agriculture, and we have to sustain it, and we have to be more realistic and play less politics about it.
Nigeria at 60, it's a special discussion, and of course we've been looking at the agriculture sector. We are doing a sectoral review of the country at 60. We've looked at governance, we've looked at economy, and of course we've been speaking on agriculture.
Yeah, we've been speaking on agriculture basically, Michael, because they said that if we must diversify, first of all, our board of course should be on agricultural sector, and that's why we've taken on the former commissioner for agriculture and the program manager, Abia State Agricultural Development Program, Chief Israel Aman, is on this. I have spoken extensively on that. But I don't know if you have another question for him.
We need to move on to other sectors.
Okay, on that note, let's thank Chief Israel Amanza for coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Happy Independence.
Happy Independence.
I'm also celebrating with Nigeria.
Oh, really? Happy birthday.
We're age mates.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Happy birthday to
Congratulations.
you. Congratulations. Well, you can join the conversation because we have messages on our Facebook page already. We have, you can also join the conversation on our Twitter page at Flow 949 FM. On Facebook is Flow 949 FM. We're looking at the sectors in Nigeria. Of course, it's a special day, Independence Day in Nigeria. Now let's move to another sector, very, very important. Remember, when we looked at the economy, Dr. Chief Agu mentioned about knowledge, that we've not been looking at the knowledge now. Instead of firing economy and saying we're improving infrastructure, we should also look at the knowledge. Now we're looking at the education sector, Ginika.
Sure, of course, when you talk about knowledge, how do you get the knowledge imparted into people? Is through education. And so our focus this time will be on education, and we have live here over the phone, a mass. And okay, he's a lecturer in the Department of Mass Communication at the Ebonyi State University, Dr. Kenneth Adiwe. Doctor, good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's do the analysis of the education sector in Nigeria. 60 years. It's a long way, but we would like you to give us a rundown of what we've had, and of course what will be the status, maybe do a prediction of what we may have in the nearest future.
Yeah, I would say that hello?
Yes, go on. Hear you. Go on, please.
Okay. Yes, if to comment on this, I would say that despite the great educational potentials in the last 60 years, the journey of educational policies and implementation has rather moved from what I would say progression to retrogression. Since 1960, when the country got her independence till now, various policies have been put in place, but it's like those policies have never yielded the desired result. If you can recall that prior to 1960, our education system was fashioned after the British 652 system. And at that time, we had some resounding successes in terms of input and output. But a couple of years after the independence, the system has totally changed. Remember that in 1983, the education system was updated to the 6334 system, which we see to be similar to that of the Americans. Several other policies have come on board since then. Like in 1993, the federal government developed and adopted the first national policy on education. In 1998, the national education policy was once again reviewed. But what we should ask ourselves is, despite all these policies, what gains have we made in the sector? You can also remember that the current administration earlier on came up with Education for Change, in which they plan to revamp the education system. But despite all these things, we have not achieved what we desire. So one can categorically say that Nigeria's 60 years of tinkering with its educational system has not worked, largely to non-implementation of policies. So the sector has worsened and will require an overhaul to meet with the 21st century challenges. The Director Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS, one Professor Anthony Killer, and the former Vice Chancellor of Labisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, Professor Olusola Sopola, once said that the sector in the last 60 years is a reflection of the state of the country, which started well but now doing very badly. That the sector could be measured by the sorry state of school infrastructure, low index of happiness of teachers, bad quality of school leavers, and a high percentage of parents sending their children to private and foreign schools. According to this professor, 60 years ago, many were coming to study in Nigeria, but today, most are studying in the country simply because they cannot afford to go elsewhere. So if you look at all this, you see that indeed we are not where we should be. And the major challenges perhaps include inability of our leaders to see the link between education, public order, and the process. There is also poor budgetary allocation to the sector by successive governments.
Okay, Doctor, with
Yes.
what you've highlighted this afternoon, it looks like there is a crisis in the education sector. Now, let's look at the capital votes to the education sector, both at the state level and also at the federal level. It looks like it's not encouraging.
Definitely it's not. It is not at all. Budgeting is a major problem that has hampered the educational system. If you are to consider what Nigerian teachers earn in comparison with other countries of the world, you see that the teachers are very poorly remunerated. Then if you look at the UNESCO recommendations of 15 to 20% budgetary allocation to the education sector, and Nigeria's 2020 budget only allocated 6.7% to education, you see that indeed we are far from meeting what it should be. So we have inadequate funding, financial misappropriation, and graft too. We have ICT gaps.
Okay. All right,
and many other challenges.
Okay, Doctor, actually you've highlighted all these issues, and it appears that so many people who are there in the system, especially students, somebody is supposed to graduate in 4 years, and the person ends up graduating in 6 or 7 years. What do we do based on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, first of all, to improve the nation's educational sector, one, both the government and its people must first admit that there are problems in the sector. Okay. There is need to declare a total state of emergency in the educational sector. There is need to increase funding. If you ask yourself, why do students stay beyond the required time before they graduate? For instance, ASU is currently on strike. Why is the ASU as a union currently on strike? They will always tell you that there was an agreement signed in 2009 that government signed, and they refused to implement. So you look at what is holding the students back. Poor funding, failure of the government to implement promises and agreements, and all those things. So if things are put in place, definitely things will revamp, and there will be a change.
Doctor, there is a huge gap between the public sector and the private sector. I'm talking about the education now in Nigeria. It looks like the private university, in fact, if we break it down to levels like the primary and the secondary school levels, it looks like the private sectors are doing very well than the public sectors. How can we bridge the gap? There is a gap, a huge gap.
Yes, indeed, there is a gap. I admit with you. I agree with you. Though, if you look at the gap, it's just like considering government, most government-owned parastatals and privately owned institutions. That is the reason. There is need for instance, you look at the current NUC ranking of universities. You see that Covenant University always make the first 5 of the best universities in Nigeria. But Covenant University has tried to be among, I'm not advertising any university here, but the truth must be told. Yes, they've consistently made the top 5. We need to learn what do they do rightly that we must that the government universities must learn from. Some time ago, I attended a conference in that university, and during the break period, we were taken to where they call professors' quarters. So there is need for the government to emulate some of these good policies that some private universities have put in place. Provision of conducive environment, good library and laboratory facilities, good internet facilities, good and conducive environment for learning, and those things will definitely impact on the students, both in quality and in quantity.
All right, we do really appreciate you for the analysis, of course, looking at the education sector on this auspicious occasion of Nigeria at 60. Dr. Adibe, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.